My name is Florence. I am 30 years old. When I was 19, I had nothing. I had no money. I had no help. I had no plan, but I was ready to work hard. I grew up in a small town. My father was a driver. My mother stayed at home. We were poor, but we were close. I finished school at 18. I wanted to study more. I wanted to go to college, but we could not pay for it. My father looked at me and said, "I am sorry, Florence. We cannot help." I smiled, but my heart was sad. I packed my small bag. I left for the city. I had only one dress and a little money. I did not know anyone there. I had no plan, but I wanted to work. I wanted to build my life. The first night in the city was hard. I stayed in a small room. It was cold. It had one bed, one chair, and nothing more. I looked at the roof and said, "This is the start." The next day I walked around. I asked for work at shops and cafes. Many people said no. Some did not even look at me. I felt tired, but I did not stop. In the evening, I saw a sign. It was outside a small hotel. The sign said, "Receptionist wanted. English needed." I walked inside. I saw a man behind the desk. He looked busy. He looked serious. I said, "Hello. I want to ask about the job." He looked at me and said, "Do you have experience?" I said, "No, but I want to learn." He asked, "Can you speak English?" I said, "A little. I am still learning." He looked at me for a moment. Then he said, "Come tomorrow at 8 a.m. I will try you for 1 week." I went back to my room. I sat on the bed. I smiled. Then I cried. They were not sad tears. They were happy tears. I had a small chance. The next day, I reached the hotel early. I wore my clean dress. I cleaned the desk. I watched the other staff. I smiled at every guest. I listened to how they spoke. I did not know many words. I wrote down new words in a small book. I said the words out loud at night. I said them again and again. The work was hard. I stood all day. I opened doors. I gave keys. I said, "Welcome," and "Thank you." I also cleaned the lobby. I answered phones. Some guests were kind. Some were not. After 5 days, the manager called me. He said, "You are quiet, but you work well. You can stay." I said, "Thank you. I will do my best." I worked 6 days a week. I worked from morning to night. I did not take breaks. I was always on time. I saved money. I sent money to my parents. I bought rice and clothes for them. After 3 months, I got a small raise. It was only $20 more, but I felt proud. My father called me and said, "We are proud of you, Florence." I smiled for a long time. I kept learning English. I learned new words every day. I watched the guests. I listened to how they talked. I practiced after work. One day, a woman came to the hotel. She wore a nice dress. She looked smart. She was the new HR manager. She watched me for a week. She called me and said, "You are good at your job. Do you want to learn more?" I said, "Yes, I want to learn." She smiled and said, "I will teach you." After work, I sat with her. She showed me how to write emails. She showed me how to use the office computer. I learned to type. I learned to send reports. I made mistakes, but I learned fast. I said sorry, and I tried again. I did not give up. I wanted to grow. I wanted to do more. 6 months later, she gave me a new job. She said, "You will now help in the office. You are not just a receptionist." My new job had better pay. I also had more work to do. I liked it. My new job was inside the HR room. I answered emails. I printed papers. I helped with staff files. I worked Monday to Friday. I had 2 days off. I used those days to rest and read. I also took free English classes at a local school. I walked there every Saturday. The class had 10 students. The teacher was kind. She said I was a good student. I kept learning. I kept working. I did not stop. I did not party. I did not buy expensive clothes. I only bought what I needed. After 2 years, the hotel changed managers. The new manager asked about every worker. He wanted to know who worked hard. My name came up many times. He called me one day. He said, "You started here as a receptionist, yes?" I said, "Yes, sir." He smiled and said, "You now help in HR, but we want more from you. Would you like to lead the front desk team?" I looked at him. I did not know what to say. I was scared, but I also felt proud. I said, "Yes, sir. I will try." That night, I could not sleep. I sat on my bed and looked at my hands. I said, "Florence, you did this. You came here with nothing. Now you are a team leader." The next week, I started the new job. I gave work to the new staff. I helped them learn the rules. I showed them how to speak to guests. I said, "Always smile. Always listen. Always be kind." Some of them did not like me. Some said I was too young. Some said I was not good. But I stayed calm. I did my work. Slowly, they started to listen. One day, a guest said, "You are a very good worker." I smiled and said, "Thank you." That night, I called my mother. I said, "Mama, I have a new job." She was happy. She said, "You are smart, my girl. You work with heart." I looked around my room. I had more things now. A table, a lamp, a small TV. My bed was soft. I had food in my kitchen. I had clean clothes. I had a phone. I had peace. I looked at my hands again. I said, "These hands built my life." I knew I still had more to do, but I had come a long way. From a scared young girl to a strong woman. I did not have help. I did not have luck. I only had hope, work, and time. And with that, I built my life from scratch. Before I share the rest of my story, I need to know, where are you listening from? Knowing someone hears me, understands me, gives me strength. The next few months were busy. I was now a team leader. I gave work to others. I checked if they did their job. I spoke to the manager every week. I gave him reports. Some workers did not like me. They said, "She was just a receptionist. Why is she the boss now?" I heard them. I felt hurt. But I stayed quiet. I kept working. I came early. I stayed late. I helped my team. I never shouted. I never showed anger. I said, "Let us do our best. Let us be kind." One girl in the team was very young. Her name was Amy. She was always late. She forgot things. She did not smile. One day, I sat with her. I said, "Is everything okay?" She said, "I don't think I'm good enough." I looked at her. I saw myself. I said, "I started just like you. You can grow too. But you have to work. You have to believe in yourself." She smiled a little. From that day, she tried harder. She was never late again. I felt proud, not just for myself, but for my team. They were growing. I was growing too. My manager saw our work. He said, "Your team is doing very well. I want you to help in training new staff." I said yes. So I started teaching. Every week, I met new workers. I taught them how to smile, how to speak to guests, how to write notes, how to stay calm. Some people laughed when they heard my English. My grammar was not always right, but I spoke slowly and clearly. I used simple words. That was enough. I still went to English class every Saturday. I still wrote new words in my book. I still practiced at night. I did not stop learning. One day, our hotel got a big group of guests. They were from Canada. They spoke fast English. They asked many questions. Some of the staff were scared. They did not understand. I stayed with the group. I helped them check in. I answered their questions. I smiled, even when I was tired. One woman said, "You are very kind. Your English is good too." I said, "Thank you. I am still learning." After that day, my manager said, "Florence, you helped a lot. The guests were happy. You are ready for more. I did not know what more meant. I was already busy. But I said, I am ready. 2 weeks later, the HR head came to talk to me. She said, we have a new role. It is called Assistant Front Office Manager. Would you like to try it? I did not speak. I was quiet for a few seconds. Then I said, yes, I want to try. I called my father that night. I told him the news. He was quiet. Then he said, Florence, you make us proud. You are a strong woman. I cried a little after the call. I looked at the ceiling and said, thank you. My new job was hard. I had more papers to write. I had to speak to the main manager every day. I had to solve problems. I had to help with big bookings and events. I also had to teach other team leaders. Some of them were older than me. They did not always listen. But I stayed calm. I did my job. Sometimes I felt tired. Sometimes I felt I could not do more. But then I looked at my past. I looked at how far I had come. And I said to myself, keep going. I started saving more money. I opened a bank account. I saved a little each month. I wanted to buy something big, not for me, but for my parents. Back in the village, they still lived in the same house. The roof was old. The walls had holes. I said, one day, I will fix it. After 1 year, I had enough money. I called a builder. I said, please fix my parents' house. I sent the money. I asked my mother to take pictures after the work was done. When I saw the photos, I cried. The house looked new. It had clean walls, a new roof, a strong door. My mother said, now we sleep well. No rain comes in. That was the best day of my life. I worked at the hotel for 8 years. Every year, I grew a little. I learned more. I spoke better English. I trained more people. Then one day the general manager called me. He said, Florence, we are opening a new hotel. We want you to help lead the front office there. I was shocked. I said, me? He smiled. Yes. You have the right skills. This was a big step. The new hotel was in another city. I had to move. I had to live alone again. I was scared, but I said yes. I packed my things. I said goodbye to my team. They gave me a gift. It was a small card. On the card they wrote, "You made us believe in ourselves." Thank you, Florence. That made me cry. The new hotel was big. It had more guests, more staff, more work. I was not just a leader now. I had to make big choices. I had to plan things. I had to fix big problems. The start was not easy. The team did not know me. I had to show them I was strong, but also kind. Slowly, they started to trust me. One day, a new girl joined. Her name was Bella. She was 19. She said, "I have no experience. I am scared." I smiled and said, "I started like you. Just work hard." She looked at me and said, "Will I grow too?" I said, "Yes. Step by step, you will grow." That night, I sat alone in my new room. I looked outside. The city lights were bright. I made a cup of tea. I sat on the floor. I thought about my first job. I thought about my small room. I thought about the time I had no money. And now I was here, in a new city, with a new job, a new team, a new life. I whispered, "You did not give up, Florence. That is why you are here." I did not become rich. I did not become famous. But I had respect. I had peace. I had something I built with my own hands. Not in one day, not in 1 year, but slowly, with time, with heart, with hard work. I did not know what the future would bring, but I was ready, because now I believed in myself. One morning I got a call from my mother. She said, "Florence, your father is not well." My heart dropped. I asked, "What happened?" She said, "He cannot walk well. He needs to see a doctor." I felt cold. I said, "I will come tomorrow." I took a few days off. I bought a train ticket. I packed my bag and left the city. When I reached the village, I saw my father. He looked weak. His hands were shaking. He smiled at me, but his face was tired. I held his hand. I said, "I am here, Papa. We will take care of you." I took him to the city hospital. The doctor said he needed medicine and rest. I paid for everything. I did not worry about the cost. I just wanted him to feel better. I stayed for 2 weeks. I cooked food. I cleaned the house. I gave him his medicine. I helped him walk. He looked at me and said, "I remember when you were small. Now you are helping me." I smiled. I said, "You helped me first, Papa. Now it's my turn." After 2 weeks, he felt better. He could sit and walk with help. My mother looked happy again. I said goodbye and went back to my job. At work, things were busy. We had a big event coming. Many guests were arriving. I had to help plan everything. It was a lot of work, but I liked it. One evening, my manager came to me. He said, "We have a guest from head office. He wants to meet our best staff. I gave him your name." I felt nervous. I said, "Me?" He smiled and said, "Yes, you are the best." The next day, I wore my best shirt. I met the guest in the meeting room. He asked me questions about my job, my team, and the hotel. He listened to every word. At the end, he said, I heard you started as a receptionist. That is very special. I smiled. I said, yes. I started with nothing, but I worked every day. He stood up and shook my hand. We need more people like you. That day, I felt proud. Not because someone said good things, but because I saw my long journey. I remembered who I was before. 2 months later, I got an email. It was from the head office. They said they wanted me to speak at a company event. They asked me to share my story. At first, I wanted to say no. I was not a good speaker. My English was simple. But then I thought about the young girls like Bella. Maybe my story would help them. So I said yes. I wrote my story in simple words. I practiced in front of a mirror. I read it many times. The day came. I stood on the small stage. There were many people in the room. My hands were shaking. My heart was fast. But I looked up and said, "Hello. My name is Florence. This is my story." I told them about the village, about the small room, about my first job, about the days I cried and the days I smiled. I told them about my team, my manager, my parents, and my father's smile. When I finished, the room was quiet. Then people clapped. Some people stood up. Some had tears in their eyes. After the event, one woman came to me. She said, "Your story gave me hope." I said, "Thank you. That means a lot." After that, something changed. More people knew my name. More workers came to me and asked for help. I felt happy to help them. One day the HR head called me. She said, "Florence, we want you to train staff across other hotels. We want you to visit, speak, and teach." I asked, "Can I still do my job here?" She said, "Yes, but now you can help more people." So I started to travel. Once a month, I went to a new hotel. I spoke to the staff. I told them my story. I listened to their problems. I gave small tips. I never said, "You must do this." I said, "Here is what helped me." I met many people. Some were young. Some were old. Some wanted to give up. I told them, "Please don't. You are stronger than you think." Each time I came home, I felt full, not tired, full of hope, full of meaning. One day, I sat on the train with my notebook. I opened it and saw my old words. Receptionist. Welcome. Room key. I smiled. Those words started my journey. Now I could speak more, teach more, help more. But I never forgot those first words. My life was not easy. I had no big help, no rich uncle, no lucky start, only work, only time, only a dream. But step by step, it worked. I built my life. I helped others build theirs too. I started with nothing, but now I have everything I need. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment, and share. More emotional and inspiring stories are coming soon.